Hey everyone, people ask me sometimes how I pack my kayak for a week of kayak camping, and also what I bring and how I put it in and all that. So let's talk about that. A few weeks ago I did an 8-day trip on the Delaware River, 200 miles. It was great, and some people were asking about this then. And so I've basically reassembled all my stuff to make this video, except I don't have all the food, but this is not a food video. So let's start with the stuff that's on the outside. One thing that makes people curious is what in the world are the two aluminum tubes doing on my deck. So it's like an A-frame. I camp in a hammock, and sometimes you don't have two trees at just the right distance from each other, and so this is an attempt to solve that problem, and I'll show you that in action in a little bit. Otherwise, on the front deck, we have a deck bag, we've got a compass. It might be overkill. Do I really need a big fancy compass when I'm going down a river? It's clear which way is downstream. I'm not sure I really needed that. Got my front camera. Sometimes it's pointing that way, sometimes it's pointing that way. This gives me some flexibility, so that's nice. Around back here, I did bring a small cart. This is from the kayakcart.com. It is an end cart. It's not the best for long portages, not good at all for long portages actually, because being an end cart puts half the weight of the boat and gear on your hand, and that gets pretty uncomfortable pretty quickly. But it weighs like 2 pounds and change, so for just hauling the boat up to a campsite or something, it's nice to have. There were no portages on this trip, so that's why I brought that cart, not something else. I do have lines on the front and the back. This curious contraption is my camera jib. So we got our loop of string. So if I put the camera on here, then I can bring it up and down. Pretty cool, a lot of fun. So, you probably don't need one of those. Got a solar panel here. Okay, so the solar panel is just part of a system. I'll show you the rest in a bit. And then I've also got this camera on the boom here. But moving on to the cockpit, what I have here. So I have the paddling gear, of course, the obvious. Gotta have the paddle. So this is a bending Branches Navigator. It's a lovely paddle. Gotta have a life jacket with all the regular bells and whistles, a knife and an emergency strobe and a whistle, and there's usually some other stuff in there too. Sometimes I have my cell phone in there, sometimes it is on the deck. And the spray skirt, I have a Seal Sneak, which has a zipper you can open up and ventilate while still covering your legs so you don't get sunburned. And of course need some paddling gloves. For this boat you definitely need a seat pad because it is a hard plastic seat. So I love my Therma-Rest little seat pad, inflatable. It died on this trip and I do have a new one now. Water, there's more water back there. On this trip I needed a helmet for some of the rapids, so I kept that at my feet, along with my snack bag. I got the munchies, so there's not much left in here. Alright, now in the trunk behind the seat. So I have a mesh bag here with just various camera gadgets. This is my two-piece dry suit. So basically I need the top for rain gear. I could use the bottom if needed. On warm weather trips I wouldn't bother to bring the dry suit bottom, but definitely have some sort of paddling jacket. And a cockpit cover for overnight. Keep some of the bugs out of your boat and maybe the rain as well. A really nasty sponge. Time to get a new one. More water. And the battery box. So the solar panel, the battery is hooked up to, and this case came from Voltaic Systems. It does have a waterproof pass-through. It has waterproof connections on the cables. So this is designed for this sort of thing. So this is the solar battery. And let's see, I have the charging block for the GoPro batteries. I did bring a plug-in USB-C charger. I didn't actually get a chance to use it. And I have various cables, and I have a couple of other batteries for charging, which I really had more than enough on this trip, but better more than enough than too little. This is the other battery, and then I have a thing for storing the memory cards for the cameras, and I have other various little gadgets in there. So that's the electronics, all nice and waterproof. Okay, so next, what is in the back of the boat? Some more water storage cube. How much water I had to actually store at any given point varied quite a bit, because some days I was going just from one campground to another campground and they both have water available, and other days I was doing some wilderness stuff in between. So it varied. The food bag, and at some points also I had the stove and its gas and the cooking pot in here as well. Early on in the trip I had the stove and stuff in the deck bag because I had a lot of food. Here's my mesh duffel bag. Keep a bunch of stuff that can get wet, will get wet in there. So this is a pee bottle. It's a bidet. Emergency blanket. Insect repellent. This is the rain fly for my camping hammock. It does get wet, so I don't keep it with the stuff that needs to stay dry. Obvious. Water filter. In a Ziploc bag we've got some matches and some sticks to start fires. Got a spare fuel canister. The camera wipes. Hand wipes. Not the same thing. Straps for my hammock, hanging the hammock. Just some cordage. Some extra Dyneema for rigging the hammock. Stakes. Bear spray. Spiral stakes. A saw. And then some personal hygiene items such as a comb, soap, and that sort of thing. Oh, carabiner. So part of the principle here is that I want the food bag right where I can get at it most easily. And then the other stuff like the mesh duffel bag is stuffed up here. And then the camp bag, which I only use at the beginning and end of the day, is stuffed in back, along with the spare paddle. Yeah. There we go. It's the camp bag. And while we're at it, I was using a 4-piece spare, well, I wasn't using a 4-piece spare paddle on this trip, but I brought one. The camp bag, we want to keep all this stuff really dry, so we've got a nice watershed bag here. There we go. This is the hammock. I will set it up in a little bit so you can see. And the underquilt, a top quilt, just a really thin pillow. In the hammock I don't really need much, just a little bit of padding. And then in some cases, like this case, I put my sleeping clothes in the camp bag. Oh, and socks. So that's all. Everything I need to sleep for the night. So that's all for the back of the boat. Let's look at the front. So usually on my trips I bring some sort of large bag to move things around. For some reason in this case I brought 2, which was totally unnecessary, but I have my big IKEA bag, and then I've got a military issue duffel. I was not in the military, but you can buy these used on Amazon for pretty cheap. So you can stuff a lot of stuff in this and then hike it up to a campsite or around a dam, but not on the Delaware River because there are no dams. This is the clothing bag. I usually bring 2 different bathing suits. Gotta have some socks. One of my base layers. That's the one for kayaking. Did bring some lightweight gloves. Brought a hat too, I don't think it's in here. Some underwear from Ex Officio. One of my rash guard shirts, so I'm wearing one, this is the other. Had some pants, generally for around camp. So, fleece top for using on the water. A fleece top for using on land or in the hammock if it's really cold. Fleece bottom for using on land or in the hammock. And that's it. Here's the library. I usually do not bring this many books, but in this case I did. So, gotta have a waterproof notebook to journal in. Got a ratty old Bible that can't get much worse. It's already been in a river. And it's also fairly lightweight. So this Paddler's Guide to the Delaware River was indispensable, so that was a must-have. And I brought one other book. And I brought some generic Crocs for showering. I think that's everything up there. But we still have the duck bag to look at. Okay, so the duck bag contents varied during the course of the trip, but you know, want yourself a towel. I did bring my short hammock just for hanging out in. Weighs like 5 ounces, so I did not get to set it up very much just because of tree spacing. To have some trash bags, the medical kit, another knife. Headlamp, didn't actually use it. More matches. Headlamp. Another light. And a stray GoPro battery. Okay, so what's missing from this picture? The toilet paper and the little trowel. So, those would be in here too. Oh, and I forgot. So on the deck usually I have a Ziploc bag with the maps and the itinerary and other such essential information. I do tuck them under the deck sometimes. Alright, so that's everything. I will show you the hammock setup next. And of course also I have my paddling clothing, no cotton. There's no cotton in my land clothes either. So I've got a rash guard shirt, I've got a bathing suit, got my hat and my sunglasses. Alright, time to set up camp. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use two trees that are a bit too far apart so I can show you the use of the half stand for one end of the hammock. Actually, in reality, I could probably do this without the half stand. So if I'm doing this at a campground, the soil is probably going to be really firm. In this case, it is not firm, so I'm going to put some rocks underneath these legs. There we go. There's bound to be an adjustment. Alright. Then I guess while we're at it, we might as well put the underquilt on there. So it's a hammock gear hammock, a hammock gear underquilt. They work together nicely. This top quilt is nothing spectacular, just an inexpensive one. So that's all. That is from East Hill Outdoors. Puffy blanket. The only other big thing is the rainfly. Now I can also, if need be, if I only had one tree, I could use that half stand along with a couple of spiral ground anchors. That's an option. It's an option that makes me nervous a little bit, and if you're nervous you might not sleep very well. So I haven't tried it in actual practice sleeping on it. I have tried it just sitting in it. So something like that, and then we stake out all the little guy lines. I also have these panel poles that I can use as well if I have something to attach them to. And then I also have these little doors on the end. I have this up kind of high, but you get the idea. So that's my setup. Also the rainfly is from Hammock Gear as well. So that's the basics of my setup for kayak camping. Kayak camping is a ton of fun. You're living as a nomad, just riding the rain down the river, and it's great. So one last thing I forgot was footwear. So these I used on land, Keen, closed-toe sandals basically. And then on water, I had the Astral Loyaks, which look like they just got some dog poop. Anyway, so So I hope this has been informative, and now you know more or less what you need to go out and go kayak camping or canoe camping. With canoe camping, you can put your stuff in 1 or 2 big bags instead of a whole bunch of small bags. So there's that difference. So you may notice I don't have a cooler. That is what allows me to go for a week or more on a trip. And the fact that I don't have a cooler means that my gear is going to be a lot lighter weight, and that really helps the cause. You don't have to be ultra light in your setup, but at least if it's moderately lightweight, it doesn't weigh you down so much, it doesn't slow you down so much. It also helps if you're portaging or something like that. So maybe you can't go camping without a bunch of beers and a cooler and some burgers and stuff. That's okay, but you're only going to get so far. If you can do it without that, without any perishable food, that makes a big difference in how far you can go and how long you can go for. To me, it's totally worth it. Now, I do bring cheese along that's like pre-packaged, individually packaged portions, and so that helps my quality of life. So, I hope this helped. Hope you had a good time. See you next time.